Chapter 225 Golden Crow True Body. Huo Yuao's eyes shone with golden light as he faced the immense spiritual pressure placed on him by Han Ruo. A layer of golden light soon engulfed his entire body. When the golden light shone, a dim golden fog also rose from his body. What? Han Ruo exclaimed slightly. She was stunned to discover that her spiritual lock had lost its effect, or rather, it had been isolated. She hadn't expected such a thing to occur, especially considering that she had 8 rings and was facing a 5-ring opponent. Mina, be careful. Huo Yuao's spiritual cultivation isn't below mine. How could his spiritual power be so strong? Just as Han Ruo was becoming perplexed, Wang Yan watched as both parties unleashed their martial souls. He shouted, "Begin!" Both parties acted immediately. Wu Ming was the fastest. As she tipped her toes to the ground, she leapt forward. Her golden crow primordial fire was unleashed. An intense spark started to illuminate the entire arena. Han Ruo and Chu Qingtian were completely concealed by the sparks. As she shouted and burst forward, she pointed her right hand toward the sky. Her 4th soul ring shone brightly, and a ruby ball of light the size of a long gun shot into the sky. This ball of light was very small when it appeared, but it grew continuously as it ascended. When it was 30 meters from the ground, it had already grown to the size of a head. After this, it started to crash down towards Shrek's 7 monsters like a meteorite. Shrek's 7 monsters were mostly unfamiliar with Wu Ming's soul skills. Shu Sanqi took a step forward and lifted his shield of the Chuanming turtle up high, preparing to resist Wu Ming's attack. Ripples spread out across the pitch-black shield. Among Shrek's 7 monsters, Huo Yuao was an ice type, while Shu Sanqi was truly water type. His defense didn't just possess the resilience of his shield, but also the gentleness of water. At least in terms of element, his shield wasn't inferior to the golden crow primordial fire. However, something weird suddenly occurred. The scarlet red fireball that was moving extremely quickly stopped in the air just as it was about to crash against the shield. After that, it made a turn and glided past it. It seemed to sweep past Bei, Shu Sanqi, and Jiang Nanan, and started to crash down towards Ike2 at the center of the formation. Her control over this soul skill was immaculate. If Wu Ming only attacked with brute force, how would she be able to reign with terror in the inner courtyard? She was truly capable. Even with Huo Yuao's spiritual detection, he could only judge that Wu Ming was controlling her soul skill. However, he didn't know what transformation was going to happen to her soul skill. Wu Ming revealed a smile on her face. Her 4th soul skill was called the Golden Crow Primordial Fire Ring. Once it blew apart in the center of the opponent's formation, it would cause a tremendous impact and scorching effect. Even if it couldn't harm them, it could at least destroy their formation and separate them. Once their formation was disrupted, they could be dealt with individually using Han Ruro's control. In such a perilous situation, Shrek's 7 monsters were indeed quite frantic. After all, the 7 of them hadn't teamed up with one another for more than 2 years. All 7 of them wanted to attack at the same time, but they were lacking slightly in chemistry. However, this lack of cooperation could be made up for using their capabilities. Xia shouted, "Let me handle it." Chemistry was built on trust. When she shouted this, the rest of the 6 didn't bother with the Golden Crow Primordial Fire Ring and continued to burst forward. A ball of black light appeared just as the Golden Crow Primordial Fire Ring crashed down. It was a huge cauldron. The cauldron was around 1.5 meters high, 1.5 meters across, and it was as heavy as a mountain. From the looks of it, the Golden Crow Primordial Fire Ring was going to crash into this cauldron. Its strength was undoubtedly going to be contained by it. However, Wu Ming controlled her soul skill again. The crashing Golden Crow Primordial Fire Ring moved 3 inches laterally before it continued to descend. This was the second shift of her soul skill. As a soul sage from Shrek Academy, Wu Ming's spiritual power was superior to most other ordinary soul sages. However, her smile froze just as she revealed it on her face. The cauldron divided into 3 components just as the Golden Crow Primordial Fire Ring moved. Wu Ming's control was limited, and so, her ring landed in one of the cauldrons. Huo Yuao's spiritual detection couldn't judge how Wu Ming was going to control her soul skill, but he could accurately grasp the timing of her actions. Xiao's 3 live soul crush cauldron divided at that timing, and the Golden Crow Primordial Fire Ring was caught in one of them. A loud boom resonated from the 3 live soul crush cauldron, and the entire cauldron turned golden red. But no heat seeped out because Xiao contained Wu Ming's soul skill completely. It wasn't just one cauldron that turned red. All 3 changed color at the same time. The attacks was distributed evenly across all 3 cauldrons. Although Wu Ming's cultivation was far superior to Xiao's, it wasn't easy for her to overcome the 3 live soul crush cauldron. Xiao's expression changed slightly before it returned to normal. As long as the 3 live soul crush cauldron wasn't destroyed, only her soul power would be depleted. She wouldn't be hurt. She was delayed for a moment, however, and thus was now slightly behind Huo Yuao and Wang Donga. She pointed her fingers at the 3 cauldrons, and they started to revolve rapidly. The golden red color emanating from the cauldrons also started to quickly disappear. Wu Ming's name was built on her offense. She was shocked that her 4th soul skill was resisted so easily. However, she didn't stop given her wealth of experience. As she lifted her right hand, her 2nd soul ring started to shine brightly. A golden red flame started to dance above her palm. In the next instant, an intense golden red spark started to burn around her body, bathing the entire sparring arena in a golden red light. This was Wu Ming's 2nd soul skill, Golden Crow Primordial Fire Combustion. Both parties were now only 100 meters apart. After the initial attack, the gap between both parties had been pulled closer. Bei and Shu Sanqi didn't rush forward recklessly. They maintained their formation with the rest behind them. From the side, Jiang Nanan had vanished directly behind Shu Sanqi. She couldn't be located anymore. On their side, the agility type soul master had disappeared behind their defense type soul master. On their opponent's side, Chu Qingtian also hid behind Wu Ming. Wu Ming clasped her hands in front of her. Since her soul skills wouldn't work, she changed her strategy. A beam of golden red fire instantly shot out from her hands. This beam of fire was almost a meter across and shot straight towards Shrek's 7 monsters. It was a direct confrontation. At this point, Huo Yuao finally made his move. He quickly took a step forward, coming beside Ike2. Bei and Shu Sanqi moved to either side of him. With Huo Yuao's spiritual detection, they didn't need to rely on sound to warn one another. The entire process proceeded smoothly, and their cohesion was great. An azure green light started to shine from Huo Yuao's chest and belly. In the next moment, a huge beam of azure green light shot out towards Wu Ming's 1st soul skill, the Golden Crow Primordial Fire. While it was only Wu Ming's 1st soul skill, it was enhanced by her 2nd soul skill. As both soul skills complemented each other, the air seemed to be scorched as the golden red beam of fire passed. The air started to distort and revealed ripple-like patterns. However, this was the complete opposite of what was happening on Huo Yuao's side. The azure green beam of light caused all the heat to be replaced with a chill. His attack clashed directly with the Golden Crow Primordial Fire. It was the Ice Empress Wrath. This was once Huo Yuao's strongest soul skills, and it was still very effective now. Under the effect of his Howdom power and with help from Wang Donga, the depletion of his soul power was negligible. The contrasting beams of light clashed together in the air. This was also the first direct clash of abilities. Dense fog started to diffuse from the center of the collision. A piercing sound reverberated, and the 2 beams of light were destroyed at the same time. Neither party gained an advantage. Impressive. It earns its name as the ultimate ice. Wu Ming shouted as she jumped up high. A pair of golden red wings flapped open behind her back. Her martial soul was the Golden Crow, and possessed flying abilities. It wasn't a soul skill or soul tool. The Golden Crow Primordial Fire continued to be unleashed. As she flew into the air, a streak of dim golden light also flashed across. It was unleashed quickly beneath her feet towards Shrek's 7 monsters. Han Ruo had finally acted. When Han Ruo made her move, all 7 of her foes turned serious. She was an 8-ring soul Douluo, the strongest opponent they had ever faced. Han Ruo's 1st soul ring lit up, and the streak of golden light that came from it was like a golden line that stretched into infinity. It was like a spiritual snake that slithered forward. After it flashed beneath Wu Ming's feet, it reached Bei and Shu Sanqi in the next moment. This was Han Ruo's controlled Hypchill soul, the dazzling golden rope. The dazzling golden rope was like living matter, and started to quiver towards both sides. At the same time, 2 golden rings arced out towards Bei Bei and Shu Sanchi. Bei Bei pressed his hands down, and two thunderous dragon claws were unleashed. Amidst reverberating booms, two huge claw prints were left behind on the granite layering the ground as the thunderous dragon claw struck. However, the dazzling golden rope twisted slightly before it managed to circle around them. It seemed to have eyes. At the same time, its speed didn't drop at all as it continued to loop towards Bei Bei and Shu Sanchi. Huo Yuao made a move again. He didn't know how strong a control type soul Douluo was, but he was certain that this sparring would end if he allowed Han Ruoro to gain the upper hand. A purple light flashed across Huo Yuao's eyes. Han Ruoro's body jerked slightly, and she took a step back. Her dazzling golden rope was also retracted, and arced out in a huge golden ring in the air. Yes, it was Huo Yuao's spiritual shock, one of the few offensive soul skills of his spirit eyes. A main control type soul master against another main control type soul master. Huo Yuao managed to gain a slight advantage over Han Ruoro as she was caught off guard. However, her spiritual power was indeed strong. Although she was a little lost for a moment, her eyes then started to shine brightly. A dim silvery glow shot out of her eyes, engulfing her entire body. It was yet another embodiment of her spiritual power, although it was a different color. When this layer of silvery spiritual power flowed out, Huo Yuao felt as if she were unstoppable. However, he had still managed to buy some time for the rest. As Han Ruoro's dazzling golden rope was restricted, Shrek's 7 monsters unleashed their full powers. Shu Sanchi was the first to make a move. He took a big step forward, and his shield lit up with a weird black glow. In the next instant, he flew into the air. Wu Ming was about to unleash a strike towards him when he suddenly disappeared. Shu Sanchi was displaced to her position. Mysterious underworld displacement. This was the soul skill that stole the limelight during the last edition of the Continental Advanced Soulmaster Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. The most unique trait of this mysterious underworld displacement was its element of surprise. If caught off guard by it, it was impossible to break free once one was locked on. That was why it became one of Shu Sanchi's strongest soul skill as a defense-type soulmaster. For defense-type soulmasters, this was a divine skill. At certain times, the mysterious underworld displacement could change the outcome of a situation entirely. Unless the opponent's soul and spiritual power were completely overwhelming his mysterious underworld displacement would never fail. Even though Wu Ming was a soul sage, Shu Sanchi was a soul emperor. He wouldn't have any confidence if he used it against Han Ruoro, but it shouldn't be resisted easily by Wu Ming, considering her cultivation. As he was displaced, Shu Sanchi faced Chu Qingtian. Chu Qingtian saw a sly smile on his face before gloomy clouds starting to appear. The shield formed a shield wall. Following this, a huge illusory projection of a swan resurfaced. In the next instant, the shield wall had converted into the shape of a turtle shell. It had a diameter of over 10 meters, and it started to crash down towards Chu Qingtian. The terrifying thing was that Chu Qingtian felt as if there were a black whirlpool in the center of the shield. A strong suction force was unleashed from this whirlpool, dragging his body towards it, and causing his speed to fall tremendously. Right now, more than one of Shu Sanchi's soul rings had lit up. Besides his second soul ring, his pitch black fifth soul ring was also shining. His fifth soul skill was called Turtle God Strike. This soul skill was different in that it couldn't be used on its own. This also meant that Shu Sanchi's fifth soul skill was ineffective if it was used without any other soul skills. It needed to coordinate with his second skill. He could only complete this blow by using the soul power needed to unleash these two soul skills at once. However, it was also because of this that this blow was very strong. If not for the fact that Shu Sanchi had the swan with blood lineage in his martial soul, it couldn't have been so strong. Wu Ming was also in a crisis on the other side. When Shu Sanchi struck, Bei Bei also burst forward. However, he turned back immediately after bursting a few meters out. Jiang Nanan did almost exactly the same thing as him, whereas Huo Yuao, Wang Donga, Xia Xiao and Hikeitu completed an arc-shaped formation. When Wu Ming was displaced, she was already completely surrounded by the 6 of them. Wu Ming was in a daze as she was encircled. Shrek's 7 monsters were familiar with such a strategy and coordination. Their chemistry hadn't seemed to fall even after more than 2 years. Huo Yuao struck her just as Wu Ming landed. He unleashed the complete version of the dark golden terror claws supported by the Ice Empress pincer. Xia Xiao changed to her second martial soul, the Ninja Phoenix worshipping flute. Even though it only had one soul ring, her soul power was much superior to before. The pleasant sounds of the flute caused Wu Ming to feel dizzy, and her speed dropped significantly. Bei Bei let out a huge amount of electricity. As the vigorous thunderbolt was unleashed, it turned into an electric web that engulfed her. Wang Donga flapped her wings, and the light of the butterfly goddess flowed towards Wu Ming. A huge amount of golden light started to flood her body. 4 out of the 6 attacked. Only Jiang Nanan and Hikeitu remained where they were. Jiang Nanan was waiting for an opportunity, whereas Hikeitu was lifting a heavy cannon to his shoulder. His target was Han Ruoro. An intense red light flashed, and a huge ball of red light shot out into the air towards Han Ruoro. This was a Class 6 high-power cannon shell. This kind of high-power cannon shell was extremely explosive and fiery. It could only be fired by a Class 6 high-power soul cannon, and even then, it could only be fired 3 times consecutively. The Class 6 high-powered soul cannon could only be used again after a 2-hour cooldown period, otherwise it might overheat and explode. Its offensive strength was one of the best among Class 6 soul tools. Moreover, Hikeitu still had Huo Yuao's spiritual detection to guide him. He didn't need to worry about his accuracy. Shrek's 7 monsters were spiritually connected at this point. Shu Sanchi had flown out and used his strong domain-type soul skill. He didn't just want to stop Chu Qingtian, he also wanted to trap Han Ruoro. Along with Hikeitu's cannon shell, their aim was not to kill or hurt their opponents. Rather, they wanted to delay Han Ruoro and Chu Qingtian's assistance to Wu Ming. On the other side, the 4 of them teamed up to attack Wu Ming. However, Wu Ming wasn't easy to deal with. At such a critical moment, Wu Ming demonstrated her outstanding abilities. Her 7th soul ring lit up at this point. Instantly, she turned into a fiery golden red lady. She let out a sonorous whistle, and her wings flapped to propel her upwards. She clashed with Huo Yuao's dark golden terror claws. As a reverberating boom sounded, the granite under Wu Ming's feet started to crack. However, she had first managed to resist the delay that the Ninja Phoenix worshipping flute had imposed on her as she unleashed her golden crow true body. Bei Bei's vigorous thunderbolt was also resisted by the golden crow true body. As the light of the butterfly goddess landed on the golden crow true body, it caused huge ripples to surface. However, it couldn't force Wu Ming back. Only the dark golden terror claws had some effect on her. Yes, this was her martial soul true body, a powerful skill that only a soul sage possessed. Huo Yuao and Wang Donga had once faced Zhao Yang's martial soul true body. His violet gold bear had left a deep impression on them, but at this point, they realized the true terror of a martial soul true body as Wu Ming unleashed her golden crow true body. Wu Ming's aura sword, and her scorching golden crow primordial fire forced Bei Bei and Jiang Nanan to retreat a few steps. Even as she withstood the attacks of several soul skills, she wasn't at a disadvantage. Although she was surrounded, she seemed to be counterattacking. Open up. Wu Ming shouted as she revealed her strong side. Her 3rd soul ring lit up, and she pressed her hands downward. She was about to unleash her 3rd soul skill, the golden crow primordial fire explosion. It was a soul skill that caused immense destruction, and was most suitable to be used when one was trapped. However, Jiang Nanan started to act at this point. As she leapt into the air, she had already arrived behind Wu Ming. A dark golden glow lit up on her body. Wu Ming was very confident in her golden crow true body, and thus didn't bother with Jiang Nanan at all. She believed that she wouldn't be hurt even if Jiang Nanan struck her, since she only possessed a 5-ringed cultivation. As her golden crow primordial fire explosion was about to erupt, the 6 of them were definitely going to be blown apart. Their encirclement would also be overcome, and it would be time to chase victory once she was freed. However, Wu Ming felt something amiss as Jiang Nanan stuck close to her. The heat from the golden crow primordial fire was useless against Jiang Nanan. She didn't attack either, but only stuck close to Wu Ming. Her hands and even legs were wrapped around her. The dark golden glow turned into an intense bright gold. After this, Wu Ming's 3rd soul ring was extinguished. The golden crow primordial fire explosion was unleashed. Jiang Nanan's 4th and 5th soul rings shone. Yes, it was the result of her her fourth soul skill, Invincible Golden Body, and her fifth soul skill, Soft Bone Lock. The defensive strength of the Invincible Golden Body had increased greatly, but it still only lasted for a few seconds. As her cultivation increased, it was currently able to last for 7 seconds. The Soft Bone Lock could also seal all non-martial soul true body soul skills once the opponent was locked on, at the cost of her mobility. Due to the gap in their abilities, Jiang Nanan couldn't possibly stay unwounding forever. After all, the Golden Crow Primordial Fire would burn her once her Invincible Golden Body disappeared. As a result, the Golden Crow Primordial Fire combustion and Golden Crow Primordial Fire explosion that Wu Ming was going to unleash were sealed even though her martial soul true body was still on display. Jiang Nanan was fighting for this little bit of time for the rest. An orange gold figure flew out from Huo Yuao's body at this point. In the next moment, Huo Yuao arrived in front of Wu Ming. He gently tapped her shoulder. At the same time, Huo Yuao's Ice Jade Empress Scorpion's third soul ring and the second of his 4 orange gold soul rings lit up. Jiang Nanan disappeared as Huo Yuao tapped Wu Ming's shoulder. Her third soul skill helped her to escape after she bought enough time for Huo Yuao. His palm was gentle, as well as smooth and spotless. As his palm struck Wu Ming's shoulder, her entire body started to tremble. The Golden Crow Primordial Fire that had broken free from the restraint of the Soft Bone Lock was instantly extinguished, as if a basin of ice water had been poured over it. Wu Ming's body also froze. The golden red faded from her body, and her Golden Crow true body seemed to have been dissipated by Huo Yuao's gentle palm. Empress palm. Snowless Glacier. Nui Tian had once mentioned that the only way to avoid the Snowless Glacier was to avoid being struck by it. The Empress palm had to make contact before it could take effect. Considering his status as the Clear Sky Sect Master, his appraisal of the Snow Empress Snow Glacier showed how strong it was. Sword and palm sends the sky into a chill. The Empress sword, palm, and chill. Among these 3 soul skills, the Empress palm was ranked second. However, it was the strongest among the 3 in terms of its direct defensive strength. After fusing with the Snow Empress spirit, Huo Yuao no longer possessed Ultimate Ice, but Ultimate Ice and Snow. Among all cold-type soul masters, no one could compare to him. Even without the enhancement of the Snowy Dance of Ultimate Ice, Huo Yuao's Snowless Glacier still managed to achieve a temperature of absolute 0. While the Golden Crow true body was very strong, the strength of Huo Yuao's Snowless Glacier was still exhibited as it struck at such a close distance. Wu Ming felt her shoulder turning numb as it was hit. In the next moment, she discovered that her soul power seemed to have solidified. Her martial soul true body disintegrated instantly, and her entire right arm went numb. A lukewarm feeling started to gush from her shoulder to the rest of her body. Yes, it was a lukewarm feeling. However, it gave her chills. Reversal. Even though Huo Yuao's palm wasn't enhanced by the Sovereign's descent, it still managed to surprisingly turn the chill into a warm feeling. After Huo Yuao struck Wu Ming, he also felt something amiss, and pressed his palm down again. As the warm flow returned to his body, both he and the Snow Lady started to shine with bright orange light. The attack was absorbed back into Huo Yuao. Not only was his soul power restored, but even the Snow Lady benefited greatly. Wu Ming unleashed her Golden Crow Primordial Fire once again, but her face had turned pale white. She didn't know if she would have survived if Huo Yuao hadn't absorbed the warm flow in time. However, she knew that it had been gushing towards her heart. What soul skill was that? Wu Ming was stunned. The rest of Shrek's 7 monsters didn't continue to attack her after they were informed by Huo Yuao's spiritual detection. However, the sparring still continued. Just as Wu Ming was struck by the Snowless Glacier, Shu Sanqi also ran into trouble. Shu Qingtian couldn't handle the Turtle God's strike, and was forced back. However, there was still Han Ruo behind him. Han Ruo lifted her hand as she faced the Turtle God's strike and Hikadu's high-power cannon shell. A golden ring light was unleashed with her body in the center. She didn't rush to save Wu Ming, as she knew Wu Ming well, and had absolute confidence in her. Han Ruo believed that Shrek's 7 monsters couldn't defeat Wu Ming easily since she had unleashed her martial soul true body, even if they encircled her. Shu Sanqi didn't have to bother helping them defeat her either. The golden ring looked very simple, as if it were a thick arm. It had a diameter of around 5 meters. However, a shocking scene appeared when the golden ring collided with the Turtle God's strike and Hikadu's high-power cannon shell. Boom, boom. 2 loud booms sounded at the same time. The first to blow apart was the high-power cannon shell. Hikadu chose to fire at this timing in order to coordinate with Shu Sanqi. As an advanced level soul engineer, he had great awareness. In addition, he had Huo Yuao's help. However, the golden ring appeared to be impregnable. The terrifying impact generated by the high-power cannon shell affected the entire sparring arena. A mushroom fog rose over the entire arena, but Han Ruo didn't move a single step. The golden ring only shook slightly before it collided with the Turtle God's strike. The Turtle God's strike was a combination of 2 soul skills, and was even unleashed by Shu Sanqi, who possessed the Swan Wu's blood lineage. As it collided with the golden ring, it created an intense whirlpool that generated a suction force. This whirlpool wasn't simple. The suction force could continuously deplete the opponent's soul power. However, the golden ring suddenly divided into 3 when the Turtle God's strike collided with it. They intersected and connected together. As a buzz sounded, they started to be pulled in 3 different directions. The instant they collided, and as the boom from their collision reverberated, the Turtle God's strike was overcome, converted into countless projections of shields. Eventually, it returned to Shu Sanqi's shield. Shu Sanqi cursed, but before he could react further, a streak of golden light had already entangled him. No matter how he tried to struggle and resist with his shield, the dazzling golden rope still dragged him down. He was restrained like a dumpling. Shu Qingtian couldn't give up such a perfect opportunity. He snuck up behind Shu Sanqi, and a panther projection formed by lightning shone brightly before striking Shu Sanqi's body forcefully. Suddenly, Shu Sanqi's body started to flash with lightning. He appeared to be convulsing. As Han Ruo flung her right hand, Shu Sanqi was thrown forward. Wang Yan made his judgment. Shu Sanqi had been eliminated. This was the first time the Shrek's 7 monsters attack had ever been stopped once the mysterious underworld displacement was used. Shu Sanqi didn't stand a chance against Han Ruo. The rest also started to feel that the dazzling golden rope was going to be difficult to deal with. The rope could loosen, tighten, whip and block. When it tangled, it was flexible. However, it seemed indestructible when it tightened. Han Ruo controlled her martial soul very well. Shu Sanqi was defeated before he could unleash his full strength. Although that was partly due to the fact that Han Ruo's martial soul was very effective at curbing Shu Sanqi, it was also undeniable that the gap in their cultivations played a huge part in his defeat. Shrek's 7 monsters were stunned, but Han Ruo was also shocked. She had defeated Shu Sanqi in the shortest time possible. However, she was appalled to discover that the rest of the 6 were rushing towards her, while Wu Ming didn't move from her spot. What did it mean for the 6 of them to turn their backs on her? It meant that she had been defeated so quickly. Mina only just showed her golden crow true body. At the same time as she was puzzled, she also became warier. Her eyes turned fiercer, and she snorted. The dazzling golden rope struck forward towards the 6 of them. She was aiming for Huo Yuao. Hikadu, who was in front of the rest, suddenly stopped. A crisp, clanging sound rang out as he stood firmly rooted to the ground. A circular metal disc appeared beneath his feet. The bottom of the disc was conical, and stabbed right into the granite below. Hikadu stood above this disc. Following this, a large number of soul tools started to combine with his body. In a matter of seconds, he had become a metal monster with countless barrels pointing outwards, all aimed at Han Ruo. Among Shrek's 7 monsters, who had the greatest abilities, in terms of explosiveness, it wasn't Bei Bei, Shu Sanqi, Huo Yuao or Wang Donga. It was Hikadu. Hikadu was already a Class 7 Soul Engineer, which was equivalent to a Soul Sage. Although a Class 7 Soul Engineer was still some way off from a Soul Sage's martial soul true body, the gap was still within the same level. After 5 years, Hikadu once again used a Soul Tool Fort strategy. However, it was on a different level compared to 5 years ago. He lifted a huge, heavy dark gold cannon that was more than 2.5 meters long onto his shoulder. He used the rest of his Soul Tools to support the weight of this cannon. When the cannon was unleashed, even Han Ruo felt a chill down her spine. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.